Good afternoon.
कुबलाई कुछ तो सीखना पड़ता है कहीं जाओ.
So Ajay, I thought I'll start by talking to you about something that we're seeing in Indian cricket now, which is, cricketers from smaller towns sort of coming forward, making a mark. The captain of India is from Ranchi. Our number 3 batsman is from Rajkot. We have bowlers from, small towns doing really well. Why do you think that cricket has not penetrated this region to a point where you've managed to get international cricketers from here?
It's a tough question to answer in about 5 minutes. I mean, to give you a reason, or even half an hour to give you the precise reasons why players have not come from this part of this country or a certain other part of the country. I think basic of cricket. I mean, if you go back, the first cricketer that we had in this country, Ranji is the first one that everybody knows, a known cricketer. Also came from a very small little town called Sadodar, which never had cricket there before. Starting from there till today, there was a period where you had 10, 11 players from Mumbai only. But none of them were actually Mumbai walas. It wasn't that there were Kurds in the 30s and 40s and 50s. There was Salim Durrani, there was Amar Singh. So you had Polly Umrikar, yes, one from that part of the country. I think if I could relate it to, say, education or any other form of life, that if you want to excel, just to say somebody who wants to get into an IAS and is, wants to go into services, goes into services, he has to move from a small town to a larger town, and eventually has to end up in Delhi to be part of the administrative department or the organization. And if he wants to get even bigger, then he has to move to New York to UN. So similarly, cricket was only meant that cricketers, no matter which part of the country you were from, you had to come to Mumbai to get into that Indian team, because that was the only way it was made. Fortunately for us, in the last 20, 30 odd years, or I won't put an exact date on it, the acceptance of a cricketer from other parts of the country has also been acknowledged. I think you got to go back 30 years. I mean, look at, you're talking about Dhoni being captain from a small city. Why not Kapil Dev? Kapil Dev was captain of this country 30 years ago, won a World Cup, and he came from a town which was even smaller than Ranchi. So it is not, I think it makes a nice story today. I mean, all of us in the media like to have stories, we need a big headline. But the fact is not that. Fact is that you've had small town cricketers 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, and you've had cricket in this part of the world also, because I just happened to spend the rest of the day, I went to the cricket ground, had met some boys and met some administrators. They just celebrated 75 years of cricket in Shillong, and one of the pretty grounds that they have. So the cricketers who probably played here weren't adventurous enough to move out to, say, other parts of this country or other parts of the world where you could play as a team. Because we tend to forget in this whole...
it's a team sport.
It is a team sport. It is not... It's got nothing to do with an individual, although we all hail individuals in this country, especially got to do with cricket. But at the end of the day, you will only excel if you happen to be part of a good team. Unless you can get to a team which is better than you as an individual, you will never be as successful as you can be. And no greater example than Sachin Tendulkar. Today everybody talks about him as the greatest player. But when he finished, he managed to take that team that wasn't the world's best team. He managed to pull them along or tagged himself along, whichever way you want to look at it. But until he became part of that number one team in the world didn't accept him as the best cricketer in the world. So I think either you've got to build the best team, either you've got to be the best team in cricket, I can only talk about cricket, or you'll have to venture out and try and be part of teams which may not be by your birthright. And that is happening in modern day cricket. Now you see players from, Shami Ahmed is a prime example. He comes from Muradabad, a small town, but he played for Bengal. He moved to Bengal, played for 8-10 years of cricket, his local cricket, league cricket, got selected. When he played for India, first time when everybody sees a player playing for Indian team and is on the screen, and there comes player from Bengal. So it was that Bengal team that got him to play for India. It wasn't Shami Ahmed as an individual. If he stayed on in Muradabad, that team wasn't good enough, so probably he wouldn't have made it to the Indian team. So it's about an individual and the team. It's almost like a chicken and egg thing. But one thing is for sure, the way I look at this sport, that individual has a very small role to play. It's the team that you represent, the team that you spend time with, that makes you who you are.
Okay. Ajay, let me come to something that's top of mind right now. What do you think happened between the one-day series and the test series in South Africa that allowed the team to, I mean, they came pretty close to losing in the end. But what was it that happened that we saw a different sort of intent in the test match that was played at the Wanderers?
I wish this game or life was so simple that, in 4 days you can turn it around. It can't be, a pill that they had or a drink that they had or something that they ate or a talk that somebody gave. Yes, these are all ingredients. I mean, you can, use all these things in your life at different stages of life. And I'm sure the team also probably had a, team meeting and had coaches talk to them, a senior player come and say something. But it's got to do with what you've been doing in the last few years. And the way I see it, the last test match, although I didn't see the entire game the first couple of days, the difference that I saw was no different from how they went into that one-day series. They've had more time there. They had a week extra in South Africa to play in those conditions. Mentally, I heard Virat Kohli talk about going to South Africa and wanting to, show the world what he's got before the one-day series as well. So it is not that the mindset changed. I mean, especially in this case of Virat Kohli. In case of Pujara, he didn't even play one-day cricket. So maybe you didn't see him in one-day cricket, so he didn't change. It wasn't that Indian cricket changed much in that 1 week. I think we played as well as we can, or, at least our batsmen played as well as they can on this trip and the next year or so, because I don't believe this test that everybody's talking about is going to end in this couple of weeks, the 2 test matches that you have. I think the test of this generation is going to be, I would, put my neck and pick a guy and say, look, this guy is the future, maybe a year and a half from now, because you've got next few series coming up.
Yeah.
It's not about just one day glory. A lot of us have had. We've gone out there and had one great day and everybody thinks you're a great cricketer. So I think nothing much has changed. South Africa didn't play well. If you want me to be an analyst and assess it right, I think the South Africans didn't play well. And the last day, the most absorbing post-tea session that it should have been, ended up being a dull game at the end because they were both scared of each other. We were always scared. I mean, before
like 2 chess players agreeing
to take a draw and go home. So I think nobody, we all lost an opportunity to.
It's very interesting what you just said. In 2006, I was covering that series in South Africa, and a similar thing had happened. We'd got annihilated in the one-day series, and before the Wanderers test, Rahul Dravid gave a press conference. He was the captain, in which he said that, when I look around this dressing room, I see so many good players that we cannot possibly remain in this slump. So I thought it was a very positive statement that he made on the eve of a test match, that, I'm sure these guys are going to bounce back. Do you think this team has got that?
Yeah, I wanted to add that after what I had said. I think, like I said, it can't be in a week. Yeah. So these guys have the ability. They are this generation of batsmen especially. I don't think bowlers I could relate to in the past, but this generation of batsmen, they've got something different. I won't say somebody's better or somebody's worse, because, you've got to be best in your time. You can't compare, different eras.
Yeah, you can't say that, if they had not got a helmet, they would have been whatever.
But one thing's for sure, that this generation of cricketers that we have, the problem that always faced with the Indian batsman was, you can't play pace, you can't play bounce, you can't play the ball when it's moving, which is a true statement. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think that statement was true about 25, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. It's only been diminishing. And I still don't think we've got to a stage where we can say, look, we can play swing and seam and bounce 100%, because that is the only reason you play sport, because you're not sure, you're not going to be able to do it again the same way the next time. So you're improving, and this is probably the best that you've seen. I mean, this generation is best at age 20 and 24 with the skills and the mindset and the confidence that they have. I would go one step further and say I've seen Rahul Dravid and generation come in 1996.
Yeah.
Tendulkar was always there. But at this age, I don't think they were as confident or they were as well equipped to play this style of cricket. I mean, where it's seaming and bouncing and moving. I think they became far superior than these guys are at this stage. But that was at the end of their careers, not at the start of their careers. At the start, these guys, to me, look much better equipped than they were in '96. So we've got hope.
So taking off from that, I mean, and agreeing with you, don't you think it sends a strange message when your cricket board reduces a series against South Africa to 2 test matches and gives an impression as if they're trying to just cut their losses and get back before, people start talking about how bad the team is?
It was very interesting. I'd answer your question, but it was very interesting sitting there hearing Akhil when somebody asked him a question about administration or how administration works. I'm neither a player, I mean, in a way now, or neither am I an administrator. I'm probably in the middle. And sport that we all watch, I mean, all of us who love and play and watch, has nothing to do with how the administrators work. That carries on. They work on another tangent. They have a different role to play. They have a different duty to do. The sportsman will play, no matter who you play against, what series it is, whether it's 2-match series. Everybody has made them, forget about me. Even Graham Smith yesterday in his conversation said, oh, I wish it was a 3-test match series. You had Mahendra Singh Dhoni say, oh, I wish we had a 5-match test series. Every commentator that you heard has said, oh, I wish we could have had 5 test match series, because we all get more work to do and we get more days paid by days. So, it makes sense for commentators. But I'm sure if you ask all the people who watch the game would also like a 5 test match series. But that's a fact. But the reality, that's a fact on one end. The reality is the boards have their, egos to go by. Their reasons, I don't know, because since I'm not part of it. There has to be some reasons why they've curtailed this from 4-match to 2-match. From my side, from where I see, I think it makes no sense. Not just curtailing this, but curtailing many other tours that you tend to do. As a sportsman, you want to play as often as you can, as much as you can, because you're not going to be 24 again. Look, I mean, it's very easy said and done. The burnout part, it will come. When we don't do well, all of us in the media or a lot of people will say, oh, they're burned out and that's why they're not playing well. At the moment, these guys, this test match, they haven't had a rest for the last 3 months, not a single day. But they played well, so we are okay with it. So there's no burnout at this moment. The media's happy, all of us are happy. They will lose in Durban. Suddenly, oh, it's a burnout, we didn't have enough time. So BCCI, what they do, only they can explain. I mean, I'm not a great fan of. I have my own battles, and that'll carry on. But in spite of that, I've always said this, and I'll maintain that. I mean, I'm still not retired because I'm not on pension with them. That's the only reason I'm not retired. But having said that, I am not a big political person. I don't understand politics. I don't understand administration. But I am yet to see an organization in this country, whether it's PWD who makes roads, or the Forest Department, or the Prime Minister of this India, or say all of us in the media, the job that we are actually only supposed to do. Forget about, upbringing of a society and the other things. Cricket Control Board of India very clearly says that the job is to promote cricket in this country. In the 30 years that I've been around and been fighting them as well, that's the only organization that I see has done their job in India. From being nowhere, we are number 1 in the world today. That's their job, but they can do better. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Ajay, how was it at your time? When you were traveling to, say, Australia or South Africa, what was the thinking? Is it true what they say that, we used to get really scared? We used to say, ki, yaar, it'll be grassy, wahan ghas hoga, ye karenge, kaise karenge? Was the mindset like that? Was it a negative mindset back then?
It was different. First time I went with the Indian team was in 1992 to Australia. We had only one nightclub in Delhi. So as soon as I landed in Australia, every corner had a nightclub, so I wanted to venture out and see all those as well. Things were different. On the field, I don't think there's any fear that you're talking about. In fact, probably we weren't, as a lot of people think, not focused. That definitely has changed because you're professionals now. So, you're meant to behave in a professional manner. You're meant to live a life how a professional lives, whether it's a sporting professional or a Only musicians are fortunate enough to carry on living the lives that they want, the real rock stars of the world. So, but apart from all of them, apart from musicians and people, artists, everybody else has to live a certain life. And I am one of those who believes, when even a cricketer is an artist or not in that same league, but they have different ways of living life. So that life was different, the approach to the game was different. But I don't think when I went to Australia in 1992, where we'd had a terrible series before I got there for the World Cup, you had Kapil Dev, Ravi Shastri, Kiran More, Mohammad Azharuddin as captain, Sachin Tendulkar already on that tour. When I arrived there, they had been thrashed 3-4-0 in that test series, and we had the World Cup to go. But not for a single moment did was anybody giving that feeling, or anybody had this to say. Every meeting or every moment that you went to practice, it was all about, okay, let's practice this. This is the team coming up. We have to beat them. The belief and the aim was always the same. You wanted to win the World Cup because that's the only reason you were there. You wanted to win the series. So I don't think there must have been a player who went on a series. There could be one individual who felt that he was fortunate enough to just have made it here by default or by sifarish, or somebody has sent him here, so, chalo yaar. But your general cricketing fraternity never feared anybody. Because Sunil Gavaskar in 1971 or 77, or not 71, there were more spinners in those days, although it's again one of those myths that, he scored against West Indies. There were 4 spinners in 1971. But what he did in 1983, which I saw with my own eyes, with Marshall, Garner, Holding and Roberts bowling, he wasn't fearful of those guys. And when he went to Australia in 85, Mohinder Amarnath, we've only had history of guys who went out there and fought and, tried their best. But they were not probably good enough, or even in our time, it's unfair to talk about somebody else, were not the best in the team. Does it mean that today when a team comes to India, when India's world number 1 and we are the best team in the world, when we've been thrashing everybody, that the other teams who are touring India are thinking, yaar, India jana, India mein to jate hi haar jayenge yaar. No. You don't play sport like that. Even if you put me in a bout with Akhil in a ring, I know I'll get smashed, but if I'm in the ring, I will try my best. I might get one punch. I might get one punch in, and I might just get lucky, he might slip. Forget about, anything else. He might just slip, and it'll look that I smashed him. So a sportsman cannot think the way all of us journalists think. And I said this to Rajdeep sometime, when you're saying, and I said that's why sportsmen don't end up where others go, and where sportsmen get where they get because they think like that. They are mad people. They are people who can't understand the rest of the world, and that's why they are sportsmen. So I can assure you that there is not a single person that I have come across who would say, डर लग रहा है ऑस्ट्रेलिया के अगेंस्ट, या यहाँ सीम होती है या बाउंस होती है. अगर वो शौक ही ना हो आपको कि सीमिंग विकेट पे जाके मैंने रन बनाने, या बाउंस जब होगी और ये जो वर्ल्ड का सबसे बढ़िया स्पिनर है इसको मैंने मारना है, या सबसे बढ़िया फास्ट बॉलर है, sorry, you cannot play this sport. You will never get there. Because anybody you see, even whether it's Shami today or Pujara, it's not that. Last month he decided, after doing his graduation and going through post-graduation, he said, I think I should do this course which is there for, 2-year course, and I will become somebody. That decision is not made when you are sensible. That decision is made when you are 10, 12, 13, 14. At 10, 12, 13, 14, you don't even know what happens beyond your colony here. Forget about who's the president of the country, or who's who's US president. What is happening, what is an NGO. These are things that you don't even think of. And that is the time that it starts. This journey that you see of a guy that you're talking about has gone to South Africa and is scared of playing a fast bowler. It doesn't fit into this story, because, if that man at 12, 13 was not thinking about anything else but wanting to play this game, and not worry about his education, not worry about, what if I don't make it to that 11 players or 20 players, how will I make a living? What will people say? How will I look? And I'll be a failure, I'd be this. At 12, you don't think of these things. You just carry on doing what you love and what you enjoy doing. And some of us who are blessed live that life. And some of them who are not blessed, I say, go on to be educated, wear ties, wear a suit, and have a great job.
Okay, we're going to take.
Sorry for
No, that's okay. That's fine. It's your prerogative to sometimes twist the knife as well. We'll take some questions, please. One right here up front. Can somebody give a mic, gentlemen?
Hi, sir. Hi. It's not a question. I just want to say thank you to Ajay for that fabulous innings in 1996 against Pakistan.
Everybody remembers your dismantling of Waqar Yunus.
Yeah, that innings, we still remember it with great, the amount of joy that innings gave us. So I just want to thank you for that, since, we're getting a chance to speak to you. Thanks.
But a question this time.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the gentleman over there. No, we're getting a mic to you, sir.
Ajay, I have also been a player in 74, 73 Allahabad. You see, there are two difference. I want a difference. When Tendulkar retired, a lot of media heap this dinner, that dinner, Bharat Ratan. And see, Rahul Dravid retired. He just failed in one series. And he quit as a player. And there was no fanfare, media and all that. So my question is, whether it is appropriate for Rahul Dravid or the country to not take notice of retirement between Rahul Dravid and Tendulkar, who is number 1 and number 3 in the world highest.
I think, sir, by asking that question, you've answered that question. As a sportsman, I'll explain how I see it. You've asked that question. Nobody asked you. You are not Rahul Dravid's relation, are you? Are you, sir?
You can say fan of both, or more of Dravid than less of Tendulkar.
So, for a sportsman or for anybody, I think what really matters is what you think. It's not about 2 people or 5 people who organize big events or the media talking about it. For Rahul Dravid, for going back 1 second ago, what he said to me means the most to any sportsman than any of those big functions. I don't think you needed, or the government of India had to say that Sachin Tendulkar is a Bharat Ratna. All of us look at him as Bharat Ratna anyway, even before that award or not that award. He didn't need to get that rank. I mean, he's been honored, and it's a great honor by, your state, that is, country. But I don't know, I'm not speaking on behalf of Tendulkar, but as just a person who's been a sportsman, I don't think you play for any awards or ranks. You carry on playing the way you do, and this happens to be in a journey that you live. There will be a lot of good things that come and bad things that come, and lots got to do with fate and timing as well. If Rahul Dravid had stayed on for a couple of series, and probably if they'd retired together, he would have had the same day as Tendulkar had. That's one place that I come to, where it's the team that you have to... Imagine the last 2 test matches that Tendulkar had decided to retire, right? We all knew, everybody knew that, it's retiring at this. Imagine if we had lost the test match in Mumbai. Could he have gone around the ground on the shoulders of the players, or people applauding? Would you have applauded? Anybody sitting here, can you tell me that if you watch a game and India loses a test match and Sachin Tendulkar is retiring that day, would you have applauded that day? Some of you would. I mean, there are people who can stay above emotions, but the little life that I've lived, 99% people live with emotions. There are very few people who can live, above that. So it wouldn't have happened. So it's the team that won that day, and what he's done it's all got together, and it happens. And just by you remembering Rahul Dravid, I think Rahul Dravid is loved and cherished, or probably respected. I know a gentleman sitting here in the front street. If you gave him a choice between Tendulkar and Dravid, he would pick Dravid, and he'd say Dravid is bigger player than Tendulkar. And that's our individual opinions. Sportsman doesn't need somebody to tell them that you are number 1, or you are Bharat Ratna, or you are some X or Y or Z. His play does it, and when he does it, you share it with him, and like he said, I mean, I'm thankful to him. And Rabi sir, and we were having this conversation about rock stars, and he said, cricketers are rock stars, they have great life and they have fun. I said, you guys are real rock stars, man, because you can create it anywhere. He can start Bulla Ki Jaan now and we'll all join in. But I can't play that match again. I need Waqar Yunus to come again and bowl to me. You know, I can't. So, it is the people who love the players, and Rahul Dravid is loved as much as, or if not more than Tendulkar. And so I don't believe that, I don't think it makes a difference to Rahul Dravid's life. He's as happy as he was when he retired, and he'll probably be as happy as he is in his life. Because what really mattered to him was what he could do on the field. What others do for him makes no difference to a sportsman. I think that's the way he would look at it, but at the end you'll have to ask him.
I think Rabbi's asked for the mic.
Hey, Ajit, tell me something. Do you think the media, as a player and as somebody who's part of the media right now, do you think is the media fair in how it sets the agendas for players' careers?
I'll ask you a question. How many kids you have?
Well,
Wherever
two.
you go,
Two.
you find
Huh?
a way to bash the media.
No, that's I'm defending my, you know. Are you fair to both your children?
I guess.
Do you say the same thing to both of them? Say if one is a sportsman and one is not, and one is more interested in academics.
Not really.
So you're not being fair to them.
No, I mean.
See, media. Look,
do you-
like I said about BCCI, I'm not a big BCCI, fan and all that, but there are good things about BCCI. Similarly, I think if it wasn't for media, if it wasn't for the media as it is now in today's day, cricket would have not been where it is today. We've been playing this game. We won the World Cup in 1983. It was 83 way back that India won the first World Cup. But it took another 15, 20 years to get where cricket is in today in people's mind, and it's all across this country. It's got to places. You're discussing cricket, you are analyzing it, you are threading it, and you've got idiots like us who sit every evening there and answer every question that's put up to us. Ki iska bat teda aaya, iska haath teda aaya, iska naak teda aaya. Everything's being discussed. So you can't say that they're doing not a good job. I think a lot of us, it's our fault. Like I say in BCCI in the terms, because every cricketing decision in BCCI, whether it's a selection, tour program, how many days somebody should practice on a tour, is taken by a former cricketer. Somebody who's played cricket, who's in the BCCI. So if it goes wrong, don't blame the politicians or the businessmen or the bureaucrats who are part of the BCCI, because they don't take those decisions.
I say this because I feel that some of the players who have retired, they've retired under some kind of artificial pressure that is created. Do you think how Lakshman, how Dravid, and several other people before him, when they retired, do you think the pressure was genuine, or was there some artifice to it?
Look, both of them would be able to answer that, whether they...
in your humble opinion?
In my opinion, I think they should all have gone together whenever they left.
All right.
Which is totally opposite to the modern day, the correct way of building a team, the team building exercises that happens all. You're tapering off, and I think teams are the way I see teams run by an ideology or a belief or a thought or whatever way you want to put it, whatever word that you can use. You can't have different beliefs or different thoughts in a team. At the start, fine, but there has to be a stage where you bring in different thoughts, different ideas and beliefs, and you put them together and you move in one direction. That's what a cricket team is. I think Lakshman, Rahul, Sachin, they all played for a very long time as a team together, almost about 100 test matches together. This new generation will bring in something special, bring in something new, and I always believe the younger and the next generation is always superior, better and faster in whichever way. But you cannot topo them the lineage also of the last time कि यार ये भी करते रहना, ये तो करना ही है और तुम फिर ये कर दो. It's like if you're not aggressive, if you're not flamboyant, if you're not risk-taking, you will never achieve anything that has not been achieved. So I think that was the way we played at a certain time. That got changed. You got Virender Sehwag and you got Yuvraj Singh and Zaheer Khan, and these guys came in early 2000, and you added a little bit of that. You had a little bit of Harbhajan Singh with a little spunk there, and there were people who were they were pushing the boundaries all the time, and they didn't look politically correct all the time, but they gave you something else. And so whatever is your belief as a team, you should go in one direction. So I would have liked to see them all leave on the same day, and so would he. He would have been the happiest to see Rahul Dravid also, that day being, paraded around Wankhede Stadium, and imagine Lakshman in there and everybody else, and that would have been nice to send a message to everybody that this is a team sport and this is not an individual sport.
So it's crazy how time flies when you're having fun, and time has closed, so we need to close now. Thank you so much, Ajay. It was wonderful talking to you and listening to you, as it always is.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for having me here. And all I can assure you that this is not a new frontier for cricket. You go out on the streets and you see kids only playing cricket. So I'm hoping one of the guys from here is going to be playing for the Indian team very soon, where you'll have to... All that I'd like to say is that you'll have to take a little bit of risk. You'll have to get out of this little cocoon. You have to go out and be part of a bigger team, part of a better team, so then you would be appreciated. Or bring the better team here and start beating them here. Unless you beat the best in the world, you can't be the best.